Welcome back. I'm now joined in the studio by Marcus Brown, Tanya Franks and Scott Mitchell. Both Tanya and Scott ran the 2019 London Marathon and raised a staggering amount of money for Dementia Revolution. And Marcus Brown, well, he ran his first London Marathon in 2009, I believe, just under 5 hours. Fast forward a decade later, and he's run all of the World Marathon Majors 6, and also have a good for age place this year in the mass event. We'll get on to all of that, but thank you for joining me in the studio. Scott, I'm going to start with you. Had you run prior to 2019 when you started training for that London Marathon?
No, Abby, I'd done very little running. I think I had one personal trainer that took me for a few months on a few short runs. And I always used to get just to a short distance and mentally I'd just stop. I'd just go, no, I can't do it anymore, and I would just stop dead in the tracks. So for me, it was literally couch to marathon in about 6 months, and I wasn't even going to do it at first. It was friends of ours from the EastEnders cast that were doing it for the charity, and they said to me, "You can do it, Scott." And I said, "Look, I'm 55. I'm not a runner. I'm not going to start doing a marathon." They said, "You could walk it." So that's how I actually committed myself to it. But, you know, as everyone knows, you say you'll walk it, and then after you do have a few runs, you suddenly get caught up in it. And I absolutely loved it. Although the first run I ever did, I stopped after about a quarter of a mile, huffing, puffing, felt sick. And I thought, why have I said I'm going to do this? I'm never going to run 26 miles. But, you know, just slowly and steadily training, you know, a few times a week, it started to build. I started to enjoy it. I think the thing for me is it's continued. It works on two levels for me. I mean, physically, it's a wonderful thing for your health, but mentally, I think for your mental health, it's one of the best things I've ever done in my life for settling myself. And at the time when we ran, you know, I was going through a really difficult time in my personal life. I cannot tell you how this helped me. If I would have known then what that day was going to be like, you know, I wouldn't have stressed as much. And I did stress a lot before. So
we all do, because it's a massive feat, isn't it? Especially when that first quarter of a mile feels horrendous, to think that you've got to do another 26 on top of that.
Exactly.
So, Tanya, for you as well, and I know that it's changed your life, and your Twitter handle is virtue of that, but how did you start? What was that initial motivation?
Well, the initial standing point for me was the fact that I had agreed to run with Scott and the EastEnders team. And again, very much like Scott, I had never run before, and I did, I felt the same after a quarter of a mile. You know, I literally, in fact, I came home and laid on my carpet and just thought, what have I done? I'm going to have to pull out and let everybody down. And of course you don't, you just keep going. And I think it was the big thing for me was having the goal of people sponsoring. It was a huge responsibility that we were taking on, which was to support Alzheimer's, and it was, you know, and therefore that drove me to reach that goal. But I think the one big thing for me as well was it helped me as far as my overall conditioning was concerned. So I concentrated a lot more on my strength training as well, and this year I'm doing that even more so now, because I understand now how important strength training is within just getting the miles into your legs.
Yeah, I want to make this point as well, if you've got any questions, because I'm sure that is one that people have, of what other things should they be doing other than their long runs on the weekend, and the strength training it definitely helps. So any of those tips, if you've got any questions for our guest today, make sure you just use the question box on the bottom of the main stage page. I've got the iPad and they will come up and I'll ask them on your behalf. We'll go into so much of what you've already touched on in terms of conditioning for the mind and for the body and for the community, and having a purpose, you know, driven by purpose that's somehow beyond ourselves, that can give you extra energy. But Marcus, for you, what were those? What were the goals, and how did they keep growing by the sounds of things?
From the first marathon to today?
Yeah.
Well, the first one was just to survive and get through it, really. I saw it on the BBC, I was so inspired. And obviously, you know, it's amazing when you see it on the couch, you think, I could do that. And then you get there and you're just in a different world. And yeah, I've gone through such a journey, and it's really taught me a lot about myself and just the processes of just being comfortable with being uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
you know, I didn't start as a runner. You know, I didn't run at school. I played a lot of football, a lot of rugby. Let myself go at university, as many of us do. And then I sort of discovered it after university. So yeah, for me, running's been a lot of fun and a lot of journey. Like both Scott and Tanya have said, you know, it's good for the mental and the physical side for me.
I think that's such an interesting point, that it can be so much fun, but it also teaches you so much about yourself, what you are able to overcome when things get uncomfortable. You've run marathons now all over the world. Why is London so special?
London was the first one. It was the one that I saw on the BBC. It was the one where I saw, oh, this is someone that looks like me that, you know, could run it as well. Whereas when you look at some of the other ones, you're sort of thinking, oh, they're a runner, I'm not a runner.
Yeah.
And it took a while to sort of shake that label, because we're all runners who, you know, if you complete whatever the distance, you're a runner, you're a marathoner. So for me, it was just seeing people that I knew in my home city and just feeling the energy and feeling so inspired. So that was the one that kind of started off, you know, the chain reaction for the others.
Yeah. And Scott, the amount of money that you raised was just record-breaking, in the realms of £4 million. So many people are going to be running for charities, and there's still charity places available for the virtual London Marathon this year. What are the fundraising tips that you'd be able to share with people?
I think, when I think about, you know, the cause that we were doing, it was for Alzheimer's, and my own personal connection to that obviously was my wife, the late Barbara Windsor, who had Alzheimer's. So as far as us getting the message out there, I guess we were on a kind of a much easier ride, as I know a lot of people do. But I think what I'd say is it shocked me the whole time just how generous people are. And whether that be friends of yours, whether it be family, you know, the public, if you put it out there, people do respond. And I think it's a great thing, like you've touched on yourself, which is it gives you such a purpose. Actually, it's an added stress as well, because, you know, you've asked people to donate and support you, and you've said, this is what I'm going to do. And of course, there's responsibility in that as well. But I think it works in a very positive way when it comes to actually the running side of things.
Yeah.
Because you kind of think to yourself, I can't let people down. And then you realise what you're capable of, which is amazing.
I know, absolutely. And Tanya, we mentioned about your social media presence, and there is Tanya Franks Runs, and that running changes lives. So how has it impacted yours so positively?
Well, I was somebody who had never run before. I absolutely never run, and so I had no concept of the fact that it would be such a positive aspect, physically and mentally, as Scott was saying. And it is, for me, having done the first marathon, there was so much training that was involved in that, and it's such a commitment that I just felt, do you know what, I can't let this go, because I've put too much into this to achieve this, so I've got to continue. But apart from anything else, the social media side, funnily enough, I went onto social media, back onto it. I had a big break for a while. I went back onto it specifically for the running, because I wanted to be able to encourage other people on a similar journey as me. And knowing that I achieved something that I thought I would never achieve in my entire life, I would never have seen myself as a marathon runner. Just to know that that was possible has made so many other things possible.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a psychological leap where you say, if I can achieve something like that, then what else can I achieve? And, you know, that's what I wanted to share with people.
It happens quite quickly after the finish line as well, doesn't it? I
It
can
does.
just remember going through and thinking, never again, and just drinking loads of Lucozade, and then thinking, I can take on the world.
Yeah, I mean, literally, we said never again. And within 24 hours, a friend had phoned me up and said, you signing up for next year? And I said, yes. I mean,
it's true. It's really true.
Insane.
And we'll go on actually, because there's various events that Hugh Brasher, who we had on before, that was talking about in the build-up to London Marathon, and you're doing the Vitality Big Half, aren't you?
Yes.
So why would you say getting in a half marathon in August is helpful towards your preparation?
Well, the half marathon, the Vitality Big Half, actually falls right at the point where you need to be doing 13 miles effectively. So you want to be around that 13, 14, 15 mile point when it falls in just those few weeks before the marathon. So, and also if you've never run a marathon before, it's a great way to experience being part of a race, because you are blown away, especially by the London Marathon, because it's such a phenomenal feeling. It is truly one of the very best days of my life. And so therefore it breaks you and it gives you an idea of what you will be coping with. And yeah, it falls perfectly within the training plan.
Yeah, and also good as well for people to experience running in a mass participated event in these times.
Absolutely, with lots of people around you, what you may need to eat.
Yeah.
I carry food with me when I'm running. A banana and dates I find are absolutely perfect for me. They give me little bursts of energy. So that kind of thing I was able to try out. How much water you need per mile and that sort of thing.
Yeah. And Marcus, you said that you were a footballer, never a runner. So how did you start making those incremental gains to be able to now run marathons all over the world?
Wow, so going back to the start, it was through a bet for a friend that I couldn't do it. So that basically triggered my ego. I started a 10K, worked my way up to the marathon, and I've been trying to conquer the thing called the marathon, but obviously you learn that quite soon that you can't conquer the marathon. It's something that you just have to accept for what it is. I ran a couple marathons first of all. London was my first, and it's just been a massive journey. So I would say for me, I had the wrong idea, thinking, oh, you don't need a coach because you can do it yourself, or coaches are for people that are apparently elite. But I've been working with my coach for the last 5 years, and it's been really helpful because it basically shows you things that you probably would have learnt yourself, but it might have taken you 10 years to get there. Yeah. So he's been really instrumental in helping me, and it's just been the consistency part, really. I'd love to say it was one sort of thing I did to get from there to here, but I'm still learning. I don't want to say I've reached this place, but from the first marathon to the first London marathon to here, each one has taught me something new, and you cross the line and it shows you an aspect of yourself, looking into a mirror, you go, oh, okay, cool, I've got this strength that I didn't always acknowledge, but it's there, and it's nice to see it come out, because in your normal day-to-day life, it's quite easy, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So obviously not currently now, obviously with COVID, I'm not trying to trivialise it, but sometimes when you're sort of sitting, chilling, you're not really going into the aspect of who you are, and that's what I love about running marathons and running.
Especially those last 6 miles, where all the tunes come out, don't they? So you were talking about using a coach. Tanya, you were saying about having different aspects of conditioning benefiting your running. What in particular do you also make sure you spend time doing?
I absolutely now make sure that I work on my quads, my glutes, my calves, also my upper body strength. So, I've incorporated, I've never done a press up before I started running, and now I do a few press ups just to keep, because it's important. Your core needs to be strong. It will all help you to achieve the goal. And so as much as you are getting those miles into your legs, and you are, the aim is to get the distance, the strength will really help you to achieve that. Yeah. So I'm focusing much more on that this year than I did the first time.
And Scott, how have you kept the running bug alive during these crazy times that we're all experiencing?
I think once again, it's something that's pretty much been a saviour to me, because one of the few things we were allowed to do in lockdown was to get out and do a bit of exercise. And to have that headspace and to be able to do that and to be out in the open, it was really quite amazing. But I think the thing is now I actually enjoy running. I think that's the big difference. The first year when I did it, there was this real stress. If only I'd known then, like Tanya said, and to anyone who's doing their first marathon, this will possibly be the best day of your life as far as an event or self-achievement is concerned. Don't underestimate how fantastic you're going to feel. Some days when you go for a run, that's the other thing, you might not be on form some of your training runs. You might need to stop after a few miles when your aim is to do 7 or 8. I took that really badly. I really started getting temperamental. I can remember we ran with a friend of ours called Jeremy Joseph, who's a key marathon runner, and he was the first person to take me out for a run. and we were aiming to do a half marathon, and for some reason that day I stopped at 11. And I was like a petulant child. And they came over to me, they stopped as well, and they said, "What's the matter?" I said, "It's not even a half marathon." And you know, I'd never even done a half marathon, let alone anything else. So you do start to take it very serious. But I just wish I would have relaxed, because you will get round in your own pace. You know, that's what you've got to do.
I think it's a great thing. We can suddenly be so harsh on ourselves, and you're suddenly looking at the clock and you're like, never done this before.
Well, the other thing as well that I'm really aware of is that, of course, having never, I didn't worry at all about the time, you know, what time I was going to get in, because I just thought, I have no time to beat. I mean, this is going to be my best time, whatever I get in at. So, you know, I might as well just enjoy it.
It's a brilliant thing to remember, actually. If you're a first-time marathon runner, it will be a PB.
It's going to be your personal best, no matter what.
Right, questions have come in. So, okay, Nicola wants to look out for the EastEnders crew. Have we got EastEnders lot running this year?
This one is.
Oh.
This one is.
Good on you.
Oh, I think you did say there was a couple of others, didn't you?
Yes, that's right. Toby Alexander-Smith is running as well. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, good. So I'm going to ask Marcus this. I'm running alone this year. This is from Meg. How do I motivate myself over such a long distance?
Good question. So I would say picture what your future self looks like crossing the finish line and what you hope to achieve, and think of that person. So it also just basically turns it around to the focus on you rather than looking outside, because we all need that internal kind of picture. So picture what your future self would tell yourself right now when you're feeling tired and you don't want to do that run. What would your future self tell you?
Nice, I like that. Tanya, what was the hardest moment on event day itself?
I think it was around mile 17, wasn't it? Probably. Scott and I ended up running the whole thing together, like step for step, which was absolutely incredible. And I think it was about mile 17 where everybody speaks about the wall, and there's a good chance that you may well experience it. And it does happen where you just, like your head goes into a tunnel. It just kind of goes, you don't know what you're thinking, you almost don't know what you're doing. It's like suddenly your body is doing this motion and your brain is going, I don't know where I am, I'm somewhere. And I can remember Scott looking at me and just going, okay, look at me, we're going to do this. And I was like, yeah, we're going to do this. And I'm like, you know, dying. And I think that was probably the worst moment for me. But from then, on saying that, I kind of remember thinking, if I didn't have somebody turning around. So I would say, you know, if you start to feel that feeling, take somebody who's running close by to you. Just say to them, listen, I'm feeling, I've hit a point. Can you just help me get through this moment?
Yeah.
Because everybody is out there helping each other. And so just find that impetus from somebody.
It's so true. I always say about London Marathon, why I think it's so special is it feels one of the few occasions where strangers come out to will other strangers on to achieve.
Absolutely. It's all about giving, this event. Yeah. Everybody's giving. The runners are giving their time, their energy. The people that have sponsored the money, they are giving. Yeah. The people that are supporting in the streets, they are giving. Yeah. Everybody is.
As a first-time London Marathon runner, I'll ask you this, Scott. This is from Karen. Which are the best and the worst bits of the course? We've gone on to Canary Wharf.
Okay. I'd say the best part, which I think most people kind of feel, is going over Tower Bridge. That is just an amazing feeling. You will just feel so elated. You will just feel incredible. I think the worst, I have to echo what Tanya's just said, is a possible moment where you might hit this point where about a mile down the road after I'd said to Tanya, come on, you can do this, I was looking at her going, I can't do this. And she then had to do exactly the same to me and talk me through it. And it is a tunnel vision. Everything was echoey. I can still see it now. It was like an out-of-body experience. And the most I'd run was 18 miles in my training. So at this point, I thought, oh my God, there's another 8 miles to go and I'm feeling like this. I'm never going to do it. But you do. Put one foot in front of the other. You've done all your training. It is there. The miles are in your legs. Just see that finishing line. And like we've all said, you will never feel anything like it when you cross that line. You would just feel incredible.
Yeah.
Please just keep going.
Yeah.
Can I just
Brilliant.
add one point onto
Please
that
do.
as well? It's like the best and the worst point is like Tower Bridge, like you say, the crowds were amazing, 13 miles halfway, and then you come over the bridge and you look across the road to embankment, you're like, that's mile 21, 22.
Yes.
I've got to go all the way there and come back. It's like, keep with one hand, take with the other.
It's so true. It's so
So
true.
don't look across the road.
Marcus, I'm going to finish on you. Can this has come in specifically for you? Can you give one piece of advice to London Marathon runners who don't live in the capital, seeing as though you've experienced it when you've gone to other countries and taken on their marathons?
What, in terms of travelling to...
In terms of just if you're coming from international and you're turning up in London, how would you embrace it as if it's your home marathon almost?
It's a difficult one because, like, say some of the other marathons, it's all one compact area, say like Chicago or something like that. Whereas London, the start point is South London, and obviously the finish point is near the Mall. So I would say if you're coming in, I'd say try and stay as central as possible because you're still quite close, maybe like near London Bridge, that sort of area. And then also you can come back and see the crowd. So I'd try to stay central. Obviously you've got the free transport as well, so you can get down to South London.
And even that's perks, isn't it? When you see everyone with their medals on the tube, everyone's just talking to each other and congratulating. It's really such a truly special day. I would like to thank Scott and to Tanya and to Marcus for coming in. And I'd also like to say this session we were meant to have Deborah James. And Deborah is battling with stage 4 bowel cancer. It didn't stop her from running the virtual London Marathon last year, and it is not going to stop her from running the mass event come October. But she isn't well enough to be with us today. So from everyone here at London Marathon Events and on behalf of New Balance, we wish you so many well wishes. Deborah, thank you. And to thank you to the three of you. Have an amazing day, October the 3rd. Good luck with all the training in advance of that. And if you want to join Tanya on the start line of the Vitality Half in August, then there are still places available. So just go to the London Marathon booth and you can find out all that information. We are going to take another short break. When we come back, we will be joined by Wellbeing and Performance Coach Chevy Ruff. So join us then.